Hello again and welcome to our latest monthly update. We now have figures for the volume and value of inbound tourism to Britain during February of this year. These reveal that just under 1.2 million overseas residents came to Britain. That's an increase of nearly 3%, while how much they spent increased by about 1.5% to just under £1 billion. Of course, there was something rather special about the February just gone. It had an extra day. And if we take that into account, in fact, February of this year was very similar to February of last year when we're thinking about the volume and value of overseas visits. You'll remember, of course, that we had an exceptionally strong set of results for January of this year, and that means when we look at the first 2 months of 2012, both the volume and value of tourism is up by 7%. The Office for National Statistics has now released provisional full-year figures for 2011. And these confirm that 30.7 million overseas residents came to Britain, an increase of just under 3%. Those visitors spent about £17.9 billion, an increase of rather more than 6%. Another figure I think it's worth making mention of is what's been happening to our international tourism balance of payments deficit recently. This is a difference between how much Brits spend when they're travelling abroad and how much overseas residents spend when they're travelling to Britain. And as you can see, this has really shrunk since 2008, when it stood at nearly £21 billion to just over £13 billion in 2011. We also now have provisional figures for market-by-market visits during 2011. And looking at the top 10, we can see that France is still very much the market generating the most visits for Britain, even though there was no change in the number of French residents coming to our shores. It's really encouraging to see that there was growth of 5% from the USA last year, because when we look at figures by the amount visitors spend, the US is our top market. The real big changes in the top 10 were down at the bottom of the table, with Australia and Belgium trading places. Australia set a new record with nearly 1.1 million visits last year. I should mention the BRIC markets, and as we can see, 3 out of the 4 BRIC markets generated double-digit percentage growth during 2011. And both Brazil and China set new records for the number of visits. Really impressive results from Brazil there, with a growth of 55% on 2010. Next time we will have provisional figures for March, and we'll also be able to take a first look at where in Britain overseas residents actually spent their time during last year. So until then, bye-bye.